If Russia dies, the world won't survive. This isn't a movie line. It's the warning behind Russia's most secretive weapon, dead hand, aka perimeter. Imagine a machine built to take revenge even after leaders are gone. A doomsday relay that can automatically order nuclear retaliation if it believes the country's command has been wiped out. Imagine a weapon that doesn't need orders. A machine designed to take revenge, even if every commander, every leader, every last radio operator has already turned to ash. A system that listens to the Earth itself, and if it decides the end has come, answers with fire. During the late Cold War, Soviet military thinkers faced an impossible fear. What if the United States launched a sudden, decapitating first strike? What if nuclear missiles rained down so quickly that Moscow, its command bunkers, and every general capable of giving a launch order vanished within minutes? Deterrence works only when both sides believe the other can strike back. The nightmare was a world in which the Soviet chain of command simply disappeared, leaving no one alive to retaliate. Their solution was chillingly logical. Build a system that guarantees a counterstrike, even if there are no survivors left to authorize it. A machine that would carry out the final order automatically, ensuring that no enemy could ever believe victory was possible. Thus was born Perimeter, codenamed by NATO as Dead Hand. Buried deep beneath layers of reinforced concrete and soil, Dead Hand was more than a launch button. It was an automated command network, a listening device for the apocalypse. It's constantly monitored seismic activity, radiation levels, atmospheric pressure, and the flow of communications between strategic posts. If those sensors detected the unmistakable pattern of a massive nuclear attack, blinding flashes, violent shockwaves, and sudden silence on command frequencies, the system could decide that the leadership was gone. In that event, it would transmit a pre-programmed launch command through special missiles acting as signal carriers, relaying codes to the entire Soviet nuclear arsenal. Within minutes, silos and submarines across the continent would awaken, carrying out a final, unstoppable retaliation. It was, in technical terms, a failed Lee system. If everything fails, if life itself fails, the system still completes its mission. To Western analysts, it seemed like madness. What if the sensors malfunctioned? What if an earthquake or solar flare looked like an attack? Could a machine end the world by mistake? Soviet engineers insisted it wasn't a suicide switch, but a stabilizer. A final guarantee against a surprise decapitation strike. As long as potential enemies believed the machine existed, deterrence would hold. In their view, Dead Hand was not a weapon of aggression, but of preservation. Yet that peace was built on faith in technology, on the assumption that sensors, computers, and humans operating under unbearable pressure would never err. History shows how fragile that faith can be. In 1983, Soviet officer Stanislav Petrov watched his early warning screens light up with what looked like incoming US missiles. He hesitated, trusting instinct over data, and saved the world from an accidental war. It was a false alarm. In a future ruled by automatic systems, such hesitation might no longer be possible. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, many assumed Dead Hand was dismantled. But reports over the decades suggest otherwise. Russian military officials have hinted that perimeter remains functional, on standby, quietly maintained to this day. Former Strategic Rocket Forces commanders have even spoken publicly about its modernization, claiming the system still guarantees retaliation under any circumstances. If true, that means somewhere beneath the Ural Mountains, a 1980s era network still listens, its sensors updated, its relays tested, its code unbroken. Silent insurance policy for a state that refuses to be erased. Why does it still matter? Because the logic that birthed Dead Hand never disappeared. In the 21st century, nations rely increasingly on automation, artificial intelligence, and lightning-fast data to manage nuclear command and control. Warnings that once took minutes now travel in milliseconds. That speed leaves less room for doubt and less time for human judgment. A false alarm, a cyber intrusion, or a misinterpreted explosion could trigger alerts that no one can stop in time. The faster the world's systems become, the more tempting it is to let machines decide. Dead Hand was simply an early version of that dangerous idea. Picture the scene. Miles underground, cables hum in the dark, computers whisper, comparing signals from satellites and sensors scattered across the continent. A single light flickers on a control board, communications link lost. Then another. Radiation levels spike. Pressure drops. The algorithm checks its final condition. Is Moscow silent? If the answer is yes, a hidden key turns within a command capsule. A missile launches, not toward a target, but straight into the sky, broadcasting codes to every silo it passes. Minutes later, the Earth shudders again. Not from the enemy's attack this time, but from the machine's reply. The system does not hate or grieve or choose. It simply fulfills its purpose. To some strategists, this cold rationality is the essence of deterrence. To others, it's a standing invitation to catastrophe. As one Russian engineer once admitted, "We built it so no one would dare use it." But technology cannot understand fear or morality. It only follows instructions, even when those instructions mean the end of civilization. And that's the central paradox. Humanity built Dead Hand to make war impossible, to guarantee that no nation could ever win a nuclear exchange. By building it, we accepted a future where one malfunction, one misinterpretation, or one desperate decision could erase everything. 3 decades later, as tensions rise once again between nuclear powers, Dead Hand's story feels less like history and more like prophecy. The system may still wait below the Earth, unseen, unthinking, yet alive in its way. Its message is simple, carved into circuits and steel. If we fall, you fall too. It is deterrence turned into code, vengeance written into architecture. A network that listens for silence, ready to answer it with the loudest sound imaginable. We built Dead Hand to prevent annihilation. But in doing so, we also built a mechanism that could make annihilation inevitable, a machine that proves how easily human fear becomes self-fulfilling when given wires and algorithms. So the question isn't whether Dead Hand will ever wake again. The question is whether humanity can outgrow the logic that made such a machine necessary. Because as long as it exists, waiting, patient, unseen, the end of the world will never be entirely in human hands.